probably introduce myself. So Sabrina Santa Clara, and some of you know me, some of you don't. And the reason why I'm doing these mindfulness groups and meditation groups is because I come from a pretty significant trauma background, and it took me a long time to get okay through a lot of various methodologies. And the things that I know now, I wish I had known 30 years ago. It would have been much less painful if I had known some of the things, or different ways of meditating rather than the traditional form of meditating, different practices. And so, the thing that I'm aware of is I've been doing this work for a long time. I charge a lot of money for my individual sessions. Not everybody can afford it. I'm aware of that. Um, and so I've had this cognitive dissonance in me of how do I, be sustainable and honor my own background and my education and my expertise, and also live into my value system around making healthcare, right, and mindfulness and meditation available to people who may not have the resources, right? So the way that I've structured this is that everybody for the first time can get in on a FirstFree tag, and that after that, people offer the contribution. And if they can't offer that contribution, if it's beyond their means, then people are welcome to contact me and we'll find another way for them to make it accessible. Right. Um, so I don't think any of you were here for the first meditation, were you?
No.
Okay. So it is online. I just posted it. And hi, O'Neill, and hi, Ruth. Um, and So I just posted it on my email list. I'm assuming that's how you all found me. And if so, you can watch that YouTube link. If not, you can just go to YouTube and type in my name and you'll find it. Because the two things that I offer there, well, one of them was really fundamental, and we sort of do that every time. So the general way this runs is we'll do a little introduction because we only have, what, 6 people here. So we have time for an introduction. We don't have time for that when we've got 25 or 30 people in the group. Um, and then I'm going to lead you through a couple of little practices that you can use in the week or two that comes, and you just try them on and see if they fit. Not every mindfulness practice is suitable for everyone. Not everyone goes, yeah, now I'm in the bliss, right? Um, so that's sort of the intention. And usually, oftentimes, what I do is I'll guide you through a process for getting just a little bit activated. And for two reasons. One is to show you that you can actually get deactivated, right? But also sort of to teach that lesson that a lot of our activation is by what happens in here. Like, we can feed the crazy, right? We can tell the stories and have a conflict. And all of a sudden, like, I remember one time I was driving with my ex-girlfriend. We were driving in the car. I thought she was sleeping next to me. We were on a road trip. I had some conflict playing out in my head. I didn't even realize it, but I started speaking it out loud. She caught me and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm a crazy woman." Right. But we do that all the time, right? We can activate our suffering. And by the same token, we can activate our relaxation and our calmness, right? Those of you who know me from the IFS world, you know that that has been my primary modality of working with people, along with some other, kind of on the edge weirdo stuff. Um, and that's very helpful. But the downside of IFS is we're always trying to get to our parts and trying to work on our parts. And oftentimes we do that from an effortful place. So we often do it from a self-like place that is, our like self-growth place, rather than from our Atman, our grounded self, right? There are different languages that people use for this. Some people call it soul or spirit. IFS calls it self. Lot Kelly calls it awake awareness. I call it isness. It doesn't really matter. Come up with your own language, right? But it's really about that place in us when we're in that calm, centered place. And each of us have sort of telltale signs that really resonate with, when do I know I'm in that place? In the IFS language, they say, you're in self when you have the 8 C's, like creativity, confidence, compassion, all these things, right? For me, I can tell the difference between when I am in a self-like part and when I'm really in my wise self, because when I'm in a self-like part, there's a quality of efforting. Like I'm doing something. And when I am in my most awake awareness, when I am in that isness place, that's what it feels like. It feels like isness. It feels like spaciousness. It feels like basic okayness. There's not a lot of cognition around the process. Or, another language might be beingness, right? And that really, if we could be in that place, we would be more content if we could be in that more of the time. So, my general take is that meditation is super helpful. I meditate, it's all great. But if I had to offer people, if people ask me, should I meditate for half an hour a day or should I use 6 little micro mindfulness practices, I would by all means pick the 6. Because meditation practices, the meditation is not the thing. The meditation is a practice to help you become mindful in daily life. And so a lot of the things that I teach in these meditation practices are short things. What can we do in the middle of while we're living our life when we get dysregulated or we notice or we're a little out of sorts? Right. So that's the schmoozy why we're here. That's why I think we're here. But I would love for everyone to just introduce yourself if you feel comfortable, where you're from and why are you here. And remember that this is recorded. So if you don't feel like sharing, you don't have to. And so generally how it works is I'm going to call on somebody. And if you don't want to, you can just say pass, but you pass to someone. And if you do, introduce yourself and then pass to someone else. I'm going to pass to Lawson. Bonnie.
No, took me a second there. Yes, hello. Thank you for doing this. My name is Bonnie, and I am so happy to be here. I get lost in the trying, and then I think, oh, I am trying. I'm just gonna try and be, and then it just kind of goes round and round and round. And so I'm just looking for a little more insight to help it. Not, what was the word you used? Not be trying, not make it
Effortful.
so much. Yeah, effortful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, Bonnie, it's really good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
And who would you like to pass it to?
I don't see everybody. I just see you.
Right, then I will pass it to O'Neill if O'Neill is willing to introduce and say hello.
Hello, yes. Um, let's see. I'm in Sonoma County, north of San Francisco, and this is my second time to pop into a session with you. Thank you very much for offering this. And non-dual spirituality has been my primary path and interest for many years, and I can feel in my being connected with that uh, pretty frequently, but it often it's as a concept. And so I've been working to have more of an embodied experience with non-dual being. And so with meditation, dance, other activities as ways to just be more present and so I'm wanting to cultivate more of the embodied experience throughout my day.
Have you done authentic movement?
No.
Highly recommend it.
Authentic movement. Awesome.
If you want,
my list grows all the time.
I've got a hightail it here right at 2-ish. But if you want, you're welcome to reach out and I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Thanks.
And O'Neill, would
much.
You pass it to anyone?
Let's see. I'll pass to True Sessions.
Hello, everybody. I am from Maui. I'm currently in Oregon. My friend Clara told me about this meeting, and I'm just finding new ways to just kind of be and expand consciousness. So I kind of came into this meeting just open-minded. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Would you like to pass it to somebody?
Let's pass it to, let's see who's on. Ruth?
Thanks, Q.
Ruth?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Sabrina. I'm happy to be here. Normally I'm busy. This is Friday evening for Monday evening for me in the UK. Normally I'm busy, but something got cancelled, and I was like, yay! I've had such a tough day. What a delight to hang out with you. So
glad you're here.
you and do non-dual stuff. Just gorgeous. I'm very happy to be here, and I know that I will learn and benefit. And yeah, thanks so much. Now I'm going to pass to Tim.
Tim and Lawson, you guys are funny.
Hi, everybody. My name's Sabrina. I'm in Italy. I've been living here for a number of years. I've just recently got back to a meditation practice and have always struggled with consistency, but love that space that comes. And so, yeah, really just looking forward to learning a bit more and enjoying to be in group. So thank you very much for the offering.
Get
Is that
Melina.
everybody? I'll pass to Melina.
Hey, I'm Melina. Sorry for being late. My client ran a little bit late, but really happy that I could make this. I also got back from my first meditation retreat in July. And it was just such a shifting experience. But life has happened, and life has happened a lot. And I've been really struggling lately. And instead of turning towards, I've been turning away and cocooning. So I'm trying to get back into my practice and consistency. And this popped up at the perfect timing. And I loved the group that I did with you, Sabrina, for IFS a bit ago. So yeah, happy to share some more energy with you, and thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. Did we miss anyone?
I'm Sheila, and I'm sorry I joined super spontaneously. I'm really, really, really happy.
Super glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here, and I just didn't quite plan it quite through very well. There's a little bit of stuff going to be going on in the background, so I think I'll keep my camera off. But I did want to say I'm just so glad to be here. So thank you.
You're here too. All right. So why don't we start with if those of you, O'Neill, do you work with Loch Kelly? He's named non-dual, so I'm not sure if that's part of your past, but some of this stuff will come from him along with other people.
Great. Well, thank you.
But the first one that I always start with is what grounds me faster than anything is, so I'm going to invite you to kind of sit back. And as we lead into this processes, it's easier if we lead into with a little bit of material. So we can see, oh, does this work? Does this not work? And so the invitation is to not be mindful yet, right? All I want you to do is be your normal being as you are when you've got some kind of thing, right? Some little kind of conflict, some little kind of unrest, or, that place we get when like trying to call the cable company and they don't respond, or we're on hold for an hour, or, all the little vicissitudes and of everyday life, right? Or a conflict. So invite yourself to bring that in. Or the thing about which you're discontent, or the thing you want to change, or that part of yourself that you're like, just keep on trying to fix that and it doesn't get fixed. Okay. And sort of feed that. Allow your mind to do what it normally does. And notice what happens to your energy as you bring that forward. So even me, even though I'm sort of teaching, I'm sort of doing as much of that as I can in the background. And I just notice a sort of kind of heaviness or a lack of vibrancy. And so just letting that be here. Now come into your body. And that thing in your head or whatever, stuff is there, you can allow that to be here while you're coming into your body. And then begin to become aware of breath. But don't try and change it. No pranayamas, no mindful breathing, no changing it. Just awareness. You're not even trying to be mindful, you're just noticing. And as you notice, you might want to surrender to the invitation to allow your lungs to breathe all the air it wants. Allow your lungs to just do what they know how to do naturally. And the next invitation is to breathe yourself bigger. So we're really just taking up all of our space. It's there for us to take up. And as you're breathing into the fullness that is you, become aware of the space around you. You are sitting within a particular environment. And then see if you can breathe into the energetic space that surrounds you. You're claiming not only their physical being, but you're claiming the fullness of your energetic being. You don't have to effort with this, you just see. How much space can I breathe into? Now, as you're breathing, recall the discomfort thing that you brought to mind. And offer your breath to that part, or that aspect of you. So that it can take a breath as well. And now becoming aware of your body. And most of us, when we name that, we're aware of the front of our body, face and chest. And even though you're vertical, imagining that energetically your body is horizontal. And that energy that is in the front of your body begins to pool into the back of your body. And you can invite that energy up and down your spinal column. Even allowing the back of your head and the back of your neck to reach into the space behind you. Notice the felt sense now. This is one practice in and of itself and can be done in between, just pulling back into your back body. We're going to take it another step. I want you to imagine, if it feels right to you, that wherever you're sitting and whatever you're sitting on is the chair of regality, the chair of wisdom. It's where the elder sits, the wise woman or the wise man. Perhaps even the oracle. And allow that oracle, that wise woman, wise man, that elder, that shaman, allow that energy into your beingness. Maybe with even an acknowledgement of I am that. I am that wise woman. I am that elder. I am the embodiment of the shaman. I am the oracle. I am the all that is. Invite space for that oracle, that shaman, that wise woman or man, the elder, curandera. Allow it to speak in your mind's ear. What truth does it have for you? It may not speak in words, it may speak in felt sense. It may be quietly silent. And just allow that to percolate, to be in the space. To resound with its truthfulness. And if there are any parts of you that interfere with embodying that space, just welcome them. No expectations, just practice. Just noticing the truth of this moment. No need to change things, just being with. Taking a few more breaths. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes, coming back to the group. And just taking stock of how you felt when I was just chatting, we were connecting, how it felt when you went inside, what changed as there was the story, what and if it changed when you went into the back body, and what happened with the oracling. Was there a difference between those states? And who would like to share?
I'll share. Can you hear me? I was thinking about when I was trying to go into the back body, I felt like my own self, like there were stop signs. Like I put them there myself. I didn't realize it. Like it really was like a dam, and it was almost just stubborn. And then you went into, just accept um, without the judgment, and just let that part be. And I thought that it really helped.
Mhm.
When I block it up, it seems, it happens. It just happens. And then to remind myself to just let it be. I know it's so basic, but it takes a minute to get there, but it felt so much easier to get there. It felt more effortless.
I feel like, spiritual practice is always like, it's the hardest thing in the world. And then when we get it, like, oh, it's the easiest thing. Like and that's the part thing is like we're efforting in our practice and our mindfulness and our, wise womanness. And then like we realize like, oh, the efforting is actually stopping us from actually just arriving or just accessing what is already here. It's already here. Right. And so the practice is really what are the little practices we can do to kind of get out of our own way? Right. Were you able to enter into oracleness? Wise womanness?
I mean, I think I was, but it was like so fractionated. Was that the right word? It's like it was split infinitesimally, and then I kind of went back to it, and then I started. That's where I started to get a little circular. Like, is that me? Is it?
So
What's
these
going
are
on?
all in some ways progressive practices, right? So if you can't get to the breathing yourself bigger, it's hard to get into your back body. If you can't get into your back body, right, it's hard to go into oracleness. And so they're sort of step processes, usually, right, for most people. Right. Thank you for sharing, Bonnie. Bonnie Lawson. Anybody else willing to share?
I'll share. I feel like for me, I noticed distance from my emotional state, which has not been easy for me to achieve lately. And so for me, the wise part was that it was like objectiveness and like just kind of holding everything that is fluttering around, and almost like the sense of like it's okay for it to be here. Yeah, that distance from the emotional state is really what I need to be focusing on.
Relief, right? Well, and it speaks to the reality that you can have all these parts that have activity that are still here, and self can be here at the same time. And that really speaks to, in some ways, that non-duality, like both can be true. Right. And I don't have to like go into some hyper Zen state, right, where nothingness exists, but right. But that those parts or those challenge parts can come along with me and reside in the soup of this isness. Right. Which is why we speak, or at least why I speak about like offer that part of breath. It can breathe too. Right. So it can still be upset. It can still be, if you were helping a person who was in an activated state or anxious, right? You can still breathe and be anxious, but breathing helps. Right. So why not offer our breath to our parts? Right? And some of these like little simple things, like these are practices that we can do throughout the day when we notice, oh, an anxious part, or oh, a tense part, like, okay, tense can be here, but let me as I breathe. Because usually we think about breath, like in breath practices, like breathe, right? But wait, offer your breath apart. And often that simple little cue can just, oh, okay. Now I'm down 2 points on the activation scale. Okay? And we're not going for perfection. We're going for a greater holding space. Right? We're human, we're going to have activation. That's how it works. I've been meditating and practicing for who knows? I'm 58, it's a long time, right? And I still get activated. I have not arrived at Zen perfectionism, but I know how to come back, usually. Right? Others.
Oh, I really like that term you just used, holding space, just cultivating that. And I had this sense as we were going through of not needing to be product oriented or with or even result oriented around, oh, I feel this activation, let me change it or channel it, or even come up with a solution to the dilemma that I'm feeling activated about, but rather just being with it. And yeah, like as you just said, just the little turn of
Great.
of a phrase on what it's different, like offering it the breath, or um, seeing the chair that I'm sitting in first as a wisdom chair, and then I'm in it. It was just a nice progression rather than, connect with the elder within. It's just a softer approach, and then it just fit in the wisdom chair.
Right.
And breathe.
They're just possibilities. We're all just exploring.
Just possibilities. Yeah.
This is why, like there are some people on spiritual practice and their path, they follow like one or two gurus. That's not my thing, because I'm like, oh, I have a whole thing about gurus, right? Because there's so much shadow in that. You throw somebody on a pedestal, they're gonna fall, right? And also because there's little pieces I get from this person, little pieces like, oh, that's a good little thing. Like, oh, that's a lovely thing, right? And then I feel it in my system and go, okay, now how do I expand it?
Yeah, and I just also want to again highlight for myself, just like letting go of there needing to be any solution or resolution or change. It's because going into any kind of a meditation process with that in mind, then actually for me adds another layer of, well, something else to be activated about. Like, is this going to work?
And I think sometimes
So,
then
thank you.
it might be even changing languaging rather than I'm sitting to meditate. Because like meditate now has like, that's some serious stuff. I got mindful, like there's all this stuff that gets attached to it, rather than I'm just going to hang out with myself for a few minutes and see what happens. As Pema Chodron, she has this phrase she uses a lot. She's like, no big deal. You do this, but no big deal, right? And we get so effortful about things, right? Does anybody else want to share? Nobody's required.
I would love to share. I felt like that was a very short, powerful meditation for me. Just kind of breathing and going into my body. And then when I went to like the chair and saw who was in the chair and see the oracle, was very clear and like kind of intense. There was a goddess sitting in the chair, and I'm in like a stool bar chair thing, so I could see the chair exactly, and it's kind of funny. But you see like this powerful goddess sitting in this bar chair, and she was wearing white, and she was more higher up, kind of like on the top of some stairs, and she had like a cat-like head. She had like a cat face, so it was kind of like an Egyptian. But then like the skin was like tan, kind of like a lion, but it was very interesting. And she didn't say anything, but she was just sitting there in like very powerful, strong position, and she gave me a very intense look, kind of a look of like like you know who you are and you know what you need to do. And then I got the word, because I think you said something if they were going to say a word or if it was silence. And the word I got was strength. So it was like a strength oracle. And after she gave me that like intense look and I got the word, then it kind of went black. And then I went back into my body. And my heart felt really heavy. So I was trying to breathe into my heart. And yeah, it's a sensitive chakra right now in my life. So I was trying to breathe into my heart. And usually when I meditate or kind of go within, I kind of like, when I close my eyes, kind of look more up. And usually I kind of can see like a brighter light behind my eyes. And I guess like to me, that's where my third eye is. And it was dark. I realized that my third eye is closed and shut off. And that's a powerful realization for me because for me, I feel like I'm disconnected. And I feel like I'm more connected when my third eye or consciousness is more open. And made me sad to feel that it was not open. And that was a very powerful little meditation. So that's my share.
Both of you are on camera. I'm wondering if you would be willing to join me in something and a little offering for Ku. We can all just put our hands on our hearts. Send her heart some love from our hearts. Let's see if we can take that in, Ku. In the community of hearts.
Thank you.
You know, these practices at heart, yes, there are practices, but they're meant to be done within tribe, within community. You know, we're coming into, I used to work as a psychotherapist. Now I work as a spiritual doula. And there is a thing that's happening in the world of therapy that I see in people like me, where we're realizing that traditional therapy it's not sufficient, right? We need kula, we need community, we need sangha, right? We need to call upon the ancestors. We need to call upon divinity. We need to be open to these altered states of consciousness. And, you know, I work with psychedelics, and that is a doorway. It is not the doorway. And that as Ku had the experience, like she went into that altered state of consciousness, right? In 7 minutes. And so these things are always available to us. And it's really just learning the practices to sort of get out of the way to allow them to be available. That is one of for those of you who are interested in working with altered states, one of the practices that could be very simple is coming into a surrendered state, right? Whatever it takes you to surrender, closing your eyes, and you just start watching behind your eyes. And as you start watching behind your eyes, you'll start noticing, most people start noticing shadow and light. And then our mind's going to wander off, and then we're making up stuff, or we're in the altered state. So there are some really simple practices for expanding consciousness beyond this world. Did any of you have a hard time or weren't able to find the elder, wise woman, goddess, etc.?
Share a little thing because there was a moment when you invited in the wisdom. A part came in and said, I don't want to be the wise woman, I want to be held. And in that moment, I realized it was something to do with an unburdening that happened in my therapy this morning. And so I invited in the tiny baby who needed to be held. and didn't get it. And so the moment she was in front of me with what she, I mean, it was a full unburdening, which was really beautiful. And she ended up in the end of the session, like floating and like instead of feeding, she was floating in this beautiful pastel psychedelic milk of human kindness, which is what she needed. That's what she needed to be fed with. And so she was kind of in front of me, and then it was okay for me to sit in the wisdom chair. And I just told her, you are love. So it was beautiful, but it was.
Thank you for sharing that. We say in IFS that, as an IFS therapist or practitioner, when you're working with somebody, if you don't do it right, there's a phrase that they use, which is the system self-corrects. Right? If we're in a mindful place, if we're connecting with people, that they'll direct us in the right place, or our system will direct us in the right place. Right? Which I think that was a beautiful example of like how your system just knew where it needed to go. Right? There's sometimes when we do this practice where some parts will come in that will be like, you can't be that, right? And then we go, okay, that's good information. Now there's trailhead to, okay, I've got a part to work with. Right? So we've got a few minutes left, maybe about 15 minutes. So O'Neill, you probably know this one because this comes from Locke's work. Maybe a little bit different, but we'll see. By the way, were each of you able to pick up a little activation, a little ick? Right. It's so easy, right? But what that lets us know is if we can create it, we can uncreate it. Like most of it is what we're doing in this, right? And that the things that we do to feed it, right? We bring it to mind, and then we're telling the story, and then we're feeling it in our body, and then we're, whatever, right? And then it's right there, right? So we're going to try another one. We'll have less time to unpack this one, but we'll have a little time. I probably will go over maybe 5 or 10 minutes. We'll see. So let's come back, okay? And just let all of that sweet juiciness sort of melt into the energetic space. Maybe even take a breath with an audible exhale, like and now I'm going to invite you to, in my practices, I always invite you, the sort of implied is always whenever we sit, take a breath, move into your back body. It's the best place to begin with, right? But invite yourself, if it feels right, to imagine something that you really want and don't have. It might be something physical, diamond ring, new house. It might be a love or a particular kind of relationship. It's something that it feels like you don't have access to. Some kind of longing. Or perhaps it's a way of being in the world that is hard for you right now. And allow that longing, that desire, a moment to just be seen and witnessed. And notice what happens to your mind state, to your body, to your energetic state as this longing lives here. And within longing, within desire, is often a component of frustration. And so as we begin this practice, this is a bit of more of a heady practice. I'm going to invite you to say certain words, but if something else feels like it's more appropriate, say that word. So in your mind's ear, say to yourself, I am frustrated, or I want, or I long. And notice where the I of I'm frustrated, or whatever word you use, lives in or around your body. How do you experience that somatically? Notice where the energetics of it are. Oftentimes, when we have one feeling, we very rarely feel one feeling at a time. There are nuances and sort of constellation of feelings. And seeing if there's any other feeling states that arise with it. Hope, hopelessness, or determination, or powerlessness, maybe defeat, or poor me quality. Just notice what arises with that. What is in the constellation? What is in the group of feeling states here? And name each of them in the terms of I am frustrated, I am hopeless, I am defeated, whatever the terms are for you. And as you say them in your mind's ear, notice the energy and notice what happens in your body. And now for your keys, for your words, you're going to shift it to I feel. I feel frustrated. I feel hopeless. I feel defeated. And notice that, in any closed practice, when we are getting a little sleepy or a little naughty, we can just open our eyes and lower our gaze, be a little more present, or fall asleep if you need to. But again, beginning back to the I feel. I feel frustrated, I feel. And notice how, where the I of the I feel is. Who is that I? And now in your mind's ear, hear yourself saying, I am aware that I feel frustrated. I am aware that I feel whatever the feelings are. For each one that was true for you. And notice the difference between the I that is aware and the I that is having a feeling. I am aware that I feel something. And the difference of the energetic qualities of the I am aware versus the I feel. Different somatic experience of the I that is aware and the I feel. And now shifting that to I am aware that the feeling is here. I am aware that frustration is here. I am aware that longing is here. Notice the I, the quality of the I am aware. Notice the quality of the feeling that is here. And now, with all the feelings that you've named, in your mind's ear, offer frustration is welcome here. Longing is welcome here. There is a space for hopelessness here. And now shifting into awareness and frustration are one. Awareness and longing are one. Or whatever phrases you've used. So space for awareness and space for the feeling, all in the same arena. All in the same embodied state. And taking another full breath. And whenever you're ready, coming back to the group. Would anybody be willing to share about their experience? And just so you know, when I say be willing to share about your experience, that means all experiences. That means like this sucked. Couldn't get it. Totally fine.
I had a wonderful micro nap.
I
Yeah, I appreciate your guidance back. That was
was like,
helpful.
you
That was,
could, or just sleep, you know?
no, it came back. But yeah, really, really, really sweet. I especially enjoyed and just, yeah, it's all welcome. It's all, I thought of the Rumi poem, you know, the house guests, the visitors. I
Mhm.
think, you know, come on in, come on through.
Yeah, and you know, if any of I don't know if any of you ever studied with Reggie Ray. So Reggie Ray is a somatic psychotherapist, you know, another guru that has some shadow, but really good practices. And that's his work is all about somatic meditation. And when you're first learning, he will be like, you know, if we're doing this and you're going inside and you need to sleep, just sleep. Like, don't be too effortful. Trust that whatever arises needs to arise. Anybody else like to share? Or be willing to share? Two different things, right?
I'll share. The words for me were, feeling defeated, feeling sad, feeling angry and upset, and feeling frustrated. Yeah. And I liked each section and bringing the awareness and feelings to emerge together. And I feel like when they emerged together at the end, it felt like not as hard. But in the beginning, you're just feeling the emotions, which feels, very emotional. And then bringing the awareness to the feelings and then merging them together was definitely very interesting. And I feel more okay, where just feeling the feelings, you don't feel so okay. You're just feeling those feelings.
Much.
And yeah, feeling the yuck and bringing awareness to that and bringing them together and giving them space. It's like the feelings are welcome in the space, and I'll bring my awareness to it and I make it one so I can like feel okay and not just feel the yuck. That was my experience.
This is comes from sort of the non-dual tradition, particularly Law Kelly, this particular practice. And there's sort of this misnomer, I feel, in the non-dual practice. It's like there is no duality, and the reality is there is duality and there's no duality, and there is no duality and there is duality. Like we're always moving back and forth interweaving between these, right? Oscillating from the small and the separate to the coming together, right? That there is black and white, and then there is the spectrum of colorness, right? And that all of it exists. So there's sort of the non-duality and non-duality. And so it's all sort of, as soon as we start getting into languaging about this part as being separate, right? In some ways it's a benefit, right? In IFS work, we work with our separate parts in order to work with the healing. And ultimately what we want for them is to be able to come home into this integrated state, right? That all is here, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the therapeutic process, right? That we're not doing just psychotherapy, right? Right. And we're not just doing mystical work, and we're not just doing psychedelics, right? But that we're actually becoming a whole person. If any of you speak Spanish, you know that when we talk about the word integrated, right? In Spanish, the word integral, it comes from the same root. And it's the word that we use when we talk about whole wheat bread, right? Bread that doesn't have anything out of it is integral, right? It's in its wholeness. And that's really what integrated is. It's, we think about integrated as all these separate parts together, but that's not what it is. It's wholeness, right? It's also the same root of the word integrity, right? We think in English integrity primarily about some kind of moral stance, right? But integrity is around like, if there is an item that has integrity, it means that it's all together. And that's where that personal integrity comes from, is our own wholeness. We don't have to effort at our some moral stance of integrity. The work is to live into our wholeness. That's more what I think about when I think non-duality. I think more of wholeness. Am I in my wholeness? O'Neill, do you have any thoughts on that, since that is part of your practice? Would you like to wax profound?
I also like the definition of or a definition of integrity as kind of not moralistic, but rather how something was designed is. And I think wholeness is such a beautiful way of speaking of our original being. Like this is what I'm designed for, to have all of these feelings, right, and experiences. This is life. It's okay.
That when I'm in my wholeness, integrity and the moral integrity comes from that wholeness.
Mm-hmm. Right. As intended.
Mm-hmm. We are a big hot mess in this culture.
Right. Right. Constantly trying not to be ourselves, oneself, like to fit into some mold or comparison.
We have our wounding in our neural network around patriarchy and hierarchy and our roles as males and females and our gender orientation, all the things that have been defined, that have created these neural networks, so we don't have the expansiveness that is actually our birthright. And so these practices are really about coming back to our wholeness. so that we can then offer a wholeness and that light to other people. You know, everything that gets us into meditation and mindfulness and therapy practice is really sort of narcissistic. Like, I come in for my own wounding. And the more we begin to do the work, more we realize that this work is actually, yes, we heal ourselves, but we heal ourselves for our progeny. We heal ourselves to heal our ancestral line. We heal ourselves to become into relationship with others. So as we're, doing our own practice here, I'm really going to invite you to take a moment to, for those who are visually on screen, to really look at each other. These beautiful beings that have come here in this time to share this connectivity. All in the practice, all with our own wounding and our longings, and all with our frustrations. That this is actually the healing we need. We need our practice in community. We need to remember that we belong to each other, and that when one person in the community is hurting, when one person's heart is sore, right, that we can all feel that. When you talk too about like feeling that I can hold it now because there's awareness here, like they're not so separate.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I always say is like, a hard thing with a hand to hold is 1,000 times better. A hard thing with no hand to hold is 1,000 times worse. We are not meant to do this alone. That's why we're so messed up. Thank you all for coming and for offering your hearts and your presence and your comments, and in order to be able to bring this to you. And there's more coming, so feel free to join or pass it on to friends, or right. Many blessings to all of you. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening. All right, take good care, y'all.